Shalom, brothers and sisters. Grace, mercy, and peace be unto you. From Yahuwah, He's our Father, and Yahusha, who is the Mashayah, the one that carries the burden of Yah, His voice, our High Priest, soon coming King. Hear, O Yeshurun, Yahuwah, who is our Mighty One, He is one. There is no other Mighty One, brothers and sisters, but Yahuwah, and Yahusha is His voice. This is Brother David coming to you again to ask another question. What is the Feast of Dedication? The answer? They call it Hanukah. Here's my transliteration. The first letter is a he, not a ha. Hanukah should be the correct transliteration. What is this all about, this Hanukah? Well, it's the rededication of this altar and the temple to Yahuwah. Why would they have to rededicate the altar and the temple? Because the Greeks came in. They sacrificed pigs on the altar to their mighty one, Zeus, and it defiled the altar. Let's take a look at this story so that we can understand everything that surrounds this event. Maccabean. We call it Maccabees, chapter 4, verses 1 to 5. There's the modern Hebrew script. Note, every chance they get, they take the Yah out of every single one of their transliterations. Have you noticed that by now? Verse 1. Then took Georgius. Who is Georgius? He's one of the generals of the Seleucid Empire under Lysias at this time. He came with 5,000 footmen and 1,000 of the best horsemen and removed out of the camp by night. Well, here's the next army that they sent against Yahudis ben Matat Yahu. They were defeating the Greeks at every turn. It became an embarrassment for them. Verse 2. To the end, or the reason, that he moved out of the camp by night, so that he might rush in upon the camp of the Jews? No, there is no such word in any original text as Jew. What is in the text is Yahudah. And smite them suddenly. And the men of the fortress were his guides. Who were the men in this fortress? They were the Edomites. Verse 3. Now when Yahudis heard thereof, he himself removed out of his camp, and the valiant men with him, that he might smite the king's army, which was at Emmaus. Verse 4. While as yet the forces were dispersed from the camp. Verse 5. In the season came Georgius by night into the camp of Yahudis. And when he found no man there, he sought them in the mountains, for he said, These Yahuds are running from us. Verse 6. But as soon as it was day, Yahudis showed himself in the plain with 3,000 men, who nevertheless had neither armor nor swords to their minds. What does it mean to their minds? Are they saying that they didn't have armor or swords? Or are they saying that the enemy's armor and swords did not faze them? Verse 7. And they saw the camp of the heathen. Heathen is only applied to the Europeans. It means those who are from the woods and forests. Heath, look it up. That it was strong and well harnessed, and compassed round about with horsemen, and these were experts at war. So the 3,000 men that Yahudis had were going against 5,000 footmen and 1,000 horsemen who were experts in their craft. Verse 8. Then said Yahudis to the men that were with him, don't fear their numbers, neither you be afraid of their assault. Verse 9. Remember how our fathers were delivered in the Red Sea when Pharaoh pursued them with an army. What he's saying to his people, if our father did it before, he will do it again. Verse 10. Now therefore, let us cry unto heaven, if peradventure Yahuwah will hear us and have mercy upon us, and remember the covenant of our fathers, and destroy this host before our face this day. They were not depending on their own might, but by the might of he who is seated upon the throne. The same stands for us. Verse 11. That so all the heathen may know that there is one who delivers in Yasharel. Verse 12. Then the strangers lifted up their eyes and saw them coming over against them. Verse 13. Wherefore they went out of the camp to battle. But they that were with Yahudis sounded the trumpet. Verse 14. So they joined the battle, and the heathen, being discomfited, fled into the plain. What is happening here? Through the power of Yahuwah, you won't even have to lift up a sword. One could chase 1,000. Two could put 10,000 to flight. Verse 15. Howbeit, how is it possible that all of the stragglers of them were slain with the sword? For they pursued them unto Gazaria, and unto the plains of Idumea. Note, Idumea is Edom. There's the Hebrew script. Hebrew reads from right to left. What are the letters? A, Da, Me. Adam. The same as Adam. Adam. What does it mean? Red. Idumea. Edom is in the south, brothers and sisters. The same place as the altar that I showed you in the beginning. Let's continue. And Azotus and Jamnia, so that there were slain of them upon 3,000 men. 3,000 men? That was half of their army. When Yah is with you, who can be against? Verse 16. This done, Yahudis returned again with his host from pursuing them. Verse 17. And he said to his people, don't be greedy for the spoil, because there is more battle before us. Verse 18. And Georgius and his hosts are here by us, someplace close in the mountain. But stand you now against our enemies and overcome them first, and after this you may boldly take the spoils. Verse 19. As Yahudis was speaking these words, there appeared a part of them looking out of the mountain. Verse 20. Who, when they perceived that Yahudah had put their host to flight and were burning their tents, for the smoke that was seen declared what was happening. Verse 21. When therefore they perceived these things, they were sore afraid. And seeing also the host of Yahudahs in the plain ready to fight. Verse 22. They fled every one into the land of the strangers. Isn't this amazing? Yah is fighting the battle for them. Verse 23. Then Yahudahs returned to spoil the tents, where they got much gold and silver and blue silk and purple of the sea and great riches. Verse 24. After this they went home and sung a song of thanksgiving and praised Yahuwah in heaven, because it is good, because his mercy endureth forever. Oh, give thanks to Yahuwah, for he is good, and his mercy endureth forever. Verse 25. Thus Yesharel had a great deliverance that day. It is obvious that Yah heard the prayer of Yehudis ben Matat Yahu, for that fervent prayer of a righteous man avails much. Verse 26. Now all the strangers that had escaped came and told Lysias. Lysias was the governor or the ruler of Syria at that time. They came and told Lysias what had happened. Verse 27. Who, when he heard thereof, he was confused. He was discouraged, because none of the things that he wanted done unto the children of Yesharel, nor any of the things that the king commanded them to do, had come to pass. Verse 28. So the next year, therefore, following Lysias, gathered together 70,000 choice men afoot. Every score is 20. 60 is 60. 60,000 choice men afoot, and 5,000 horsemen, that he might subdue them. 65,000 men. Verse 29. So they came into Idumea. Here we go again, brothers and sisters. They're giving you a location where the battle went forth, where the children of Yesharel were defending the temple of Yahuwah. It wasn't in the north. It was in the south towards Edom, and pitched their tents at Beth Surah. And Yahudis met them with 10,000 men. 10,000 men against 65,000 men. Verse 30. And when he saw the mighty army, he prayed. I think they're in trouble now. And said, Blessed art thou, O Savior of Yesharel, who didst quell the violence of the mighty man by the hand of your servant Daud. He's talking about Daud, King David, who killed Goliath, and gave the host of strangers into the hands of Jehonatan, and the son of Saul, and his armor-bearer. Verse 31. Shut up this army in the hand of your people, Yesharel, and let them be confounded, confused in their power and their horsemen. Verse 32. Make them to be of no courage, and cause the boldness of their strength to fall away, and let them quake at their destruction. Verse 33. Cast them down with the sword of them that love you, and let all those who know your name, Yahuwah, praise you with thanksgiving. Do you see what he said? Cast them down with the sword of them that love him. How do you know who loves Yah? They will keep his commandments. It is obvious that they were keeping the commandments of Yah, and that they loved him with all their heart, mind, and soul, that they sought to defend their way of life, the laws, the statutes, the judgments, the commandments, and the temple of Yah. Verse 34. So they joined the battle. And there was slain of the host of Lysias about 5,000 men. Indeed, before them were they slain. This all happened in the time frame of a few minutes. Verse 35. Now when Lysias saw his army put to flight, here we go again. They're running away. And the manliness of Yahudah's soldiers, and how they were ready either to live or die valiantly, he went into Antiochia and gathered together a company of strangers, and having made his army greater than it was, he proposed to come again unto Yahudah. Verse 36. Then said Yahudah and his brethren, Behold, our enemies are discomfited. They are confused. Their courage has been taken away. Let us take this time to go up, to cleanse and dedicate the sanctuary. Verse 37. Upon this all the hosts assembled themselves together and went up into Mount Zion. Note, Mount Zion is not the name. It is Mount Tsayon, or Mount Tisyon. Isn't it amazing what you find out when you learn the process of transliteration? Every chance they get, they take the name of Yah out of every single word in the Hebrew text. Verse 38. And when they saw the sanctuary desolate, the same way that we're going to see it when we return, and the altar profaned, we won't see the altar profaned when we return, and I'll tell you why. And the gates burned up, they have found evidence of this in Tel Arad, and shrubs growing in the courts as in the forest, or in one of the mountains. Yes, the priest chambers were pulled down. Verse 39. They tore their clothes and made great lamentation. They began to cry, and they cast ashes upon their heads. They were mourning. Verse 40. And fell down flat to the ground upon their faces, and blew an alarm with the trumpets, and cried towards heaven. Verse 41. Then Yahudah appointed certain men to fight against those that were in the fortress, the Edomites and the Greeks that were there, until he had cleansed the sanctuary. Verse 42. So he chose priests of blameless conversation. Note, when the Greeks came in under Antiochus Epiphanes, they killed the last of the Zadok priesthood. So they chose priests who they knew, who were in the temple before, who served under the Zadok priesthood, who had pleasure in the law. The law had become pleasurable for them. Let me ask you a question. Is the law a pleasure for you? It is for me. It is my life. It's what I aspire to be, like my brothers and sisters, like my soon-coming King, Yahushua. They had pleasure in the law. The law was not a stumbling block for them. Verse 43. These priests of blameless conversation that had pleasure in the law cleansed the sanctuary and dug out the defiled stones into an unclean place. Verse 44. And when, as they consulted what to do with the altar of burnt offerings, which was profaned, how was it profaned? The Greeks came in. At that time, the leader was Antiochus Epiphanes. He sacrificed pigs on the altar of Yahuwah. He sacrificed these unclean beasts to his mighty one, Zeus. Note, listen to the transliteration of the mighty one whom the Greeks gave in their text, Iesus. They never moved away from Zeus as their mighty one. It's still the one whom they were serving. And they are the ones who put him in your text, Jesus, Iesus. Now it is turned in modern times to Jesus. Verse 45. They thought it best to pull it down, lest it should be a reproach to them, because the heathen had defiled it. So you know who the heathen are. He's talking about the Greeks. Wherefore they pulled it down. Verse 46. And laid up the stones in the mountain of the temple in a convenient place, until there should come a prophet to show what should be done with them. The prophet that they are waiting for is Yahushua. He first came as a prophet. Now he is our high priest in the heavenly realms, making continual intercession on our behalf. When he comes back this time, he's going to be our king, and he's going to tell us what to do with these unclean stones. Verse 47. Then they took whole stones according to the law. What does it mean, whole stones according to the law? No tool can be put to them. The way you pull them from the ground is the way that you assemble them, and built a new altar according to the former. Verse 48. And made up the sanctuary and the things that were within the temple, and hallowed the courts. Verse 49. They made also new holy vessels. And into the temple they brought the candlestick, and the altar of burnt offerings, and of incense, and the table. Verse 50. And upon the altar they burned incense, and the lamps that were upon the candlestick they lighted. Note, it was not 9, it was 7. That they might give light in the temple. Verse 51. Furthermore, they set the loaves upon the table, and spread out the veils, and finished all the works which they had begun to make. Verse 52. Now they're going to give us a date. Now on the 25th day of the 9th month, which is called the month of Kaslu, in the 148th year, they rose up early in the morning, verse 53, and offered sacrifice according to the law upon the new altar of burnt offerings, which they had made and dedicated unto Yahuwah. Verse 54, look, behold, at what time and what day the heathen had profaned it. You see how they keep repeating this? This was not a small thing, brothers and sisters. These heathen, let me spell it out clearly for you. The white man that came from the north, they spit in our Father's face, sacrificing these pigs on the altar. Has it changed even to today? The answer is no. They are still spitting in our Father's face. They have taken his name out of this book. They have removed the fame of Yahuwah altogether in this world today. Now they have our people and the world worshiping a mighty one that has no power, no fame, no authority. They hate Yahuwah with all of their heart, with all of their mind, and with all of their soul. Who in this world has the audacity to take out the name of he who is seated upon the throne, he who has created this world, he who has created the sun, the moon, the stars, the universe? What type of mindset do these people have that they will actually erase him from his own book? They are wicked and evil beyond all imagination, brothers and sisters. Do not trust them. Do not trust their translations, their transliterations, or their mighty ones. Verse 55. Then all the people fell upon their faces, worshiping and praising Yahuwah of heaven, who had given them good success. So now you've heard the story. I've said it many times, what they have done. Now you've seen it for yourself. This is why the book of Maccabean, Maccabees, is not in your book anymore. They took it out. They said it does not match canon. What is canon? Christian doctrines. Doesn't match their religion that they created. This is our history. Of course it's not going to match your religion. This is about us. Pulling out a can of whip, blip, 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 on them. Now look at the date. Now on the 5 and 20th day of the 9th month, on the 25th day of the 9th month, which is called Kaslu, it's when they woke up in the early morning and offered sacrifices on the new altar of Yahuwah. What a great day. Now that we have a date, and we have become professionals ourselves at counting the days and finding our feasts, we can find this day. I want to tell you something about this day. It is not a part of the law. So if you see that we have not stressed that you keep this day, it's because it is not in the law that you keep it. Our people haven't come to the mindset yet to keep the laws, the statutes, the judgments, the commandments, and the feasts, and the Shabbats that Yah has set up already. How are you going to tell them to keep this day? And it's not even required in the law. Let's see if we can find the exact day that this celebration is to take place. Brother Kuya's calendar. Brother Kuya's calendar has been an aid for us. We have a little over 2 years documented. We can go back and look at it at any time. Can anyone else do that? This is how we prove all things. Yeah. Because our people, we have been deceived in this matrix in which we're living in. This is the 9th month. Guaranteed. Without the shadow of a doubt. It would have been, the celebration would have been in October of 2022 for the 9th month. Can I ask you some questions? Let's see if we can deal with rational thought here. How many months are in a solar year? If you said 12, you are correct. How many days is that? 364. Does it change? The answer is no. If you add a month to it, is it still perfection? The answer is no. Yah made the sun to traverse across the sky for 12 months, 364 days. Let's go to the moon. How many months does the moon have? If you said 12 months, you are correct. If you add a month to it, will it still be perfect? The answer is no. You will be outside of the way the Master of the universe has created this timepiece to work. How many days does the moon have per year? The number is 354 days. Every year the moon would fall behind the sun in the amount of 10 days every year. Can you make up for the time that the moon falls behind the sun on paper? No. Is there a statute anywhere in this whole book that tells you to make an adjustment because the moon has fallen behind the sun in the amount of 30 days? The answer is no. Is there a prohibition against you adding an additional month to the calendar? The answer is yes. What is it? Thou shalt not add to nor take away from this book of the law. The Father told you to celebrate Passover in the first month. If you make an adjustment, you will be going in the second month. Therefore, you transgressed the law. There's no way around it. In the book of Jubilees, Yahweh, it tells you that you would be in error and that you would be following the feast of the Gentiles, Meton, the Greeks, the Romans, now the English. Do we have people who are still following them today? Yes, we do. There they are on top there. IUIC, the Israelite brothers, and the Jews. Okay, so we have documented the 9th month. How does it work? You see circled there, New Moon's Day? We spotted the renewed moon in the evening of the 26th on Pope Gregory's calendar, and on the 27th on Pope Gregory's calendar, made New Moon's Day. Day 1. You start your count from there. And when you count from there, day 1, you will come to 25, the 25th day of the 9th month. It would have been on a Friday on Pope Gregory's calendar, and it would be listed as the 21st. How many days are you to have this celebration? 8 days. So the celebration would be over on the 28th on Pope Gregory's calendar, and it would be on day 2 of the 10th month. You got me, brothers and sisters? This is the exact time of the Feast of Dedication, without the shadow of a doubt, without the addition of any months added, with following the law and the count according to the lunar and solar event. Let's move to the 10th month to see where our brothers from IUIC and the Israelite brothers, how they found their Feast of Dedication. Look on the calendar. You will see I have circled New Moon's Day, the 10th month. That's where we began the month. But the Israelite brothers believe that the new moon is the full moon. You got that? Where did they get that from? They use an elusive passage in a faulty translation called the GMT. What does it say? Blow the trumpet at the new moon, at the full moon, on our feast day. So the passage is very elusive. It's a translation that comes from the Gentiles. We've learned to check on everything the Gentiles say, haven't we? If the brothers went to check, they would have found in the original text that it says, blow the trumpet at Hadash, at Kaseh, on our feast day. It heralds in two separate events. Hadash, first light, when light is first shined upon the moon. when the moon becomes visible in the western sky. Hadash, I see her. There she is. According to the book of Hanukah, Hadash has 1/2 of a seventh part, which equals 1/14th part of light, which is the slither of light, and Hanukah says that is the day of the renewed moon. What do our brothers say? They said the first day is the full moon. And the scripture uses a different word, kase, full. Hadash, when light is first shined upon her. And kase, when the light has become full. Two separate events. The beginning of the month and the 14th day in the evening, which will be your feast day, which is called Pasa, or Passover. The Father gives us light on the feast days, full moon. But these brothers have inverted time. They've taken us into the twilight zone. Truly, they are here to put a stumbling block before the children of Yesharal. So it took 14 days before the light became full. They bypassed the count of 14 days and said the day 14 is day 1. What kind of thinking is that? All right, so let's see where they began their count. On the 13th is when the light becomes full. How does that work? I thought you said the 14th day, Brother David. The 13th in the evening, when the full moon comes out, it'll be visible all night long. And in the morning, on the 14th day, you will see it in the western sky, and you will see the sun in the east. They will be facing each other. That is the day of the full moon. So the 14th day begins in the evening of the 13th. So we're going to begin our count from day number 13. That's where they started their count from. Count 25 days. You're going to come to the second. Do you see it down on the bottom? They've moved into another month. It's in green. And look over to the left, you will see that would be the month of December. So in order to complete our count, we have to go into the December month. Let's proceed to the 11th month, which would take us from November into December. Okay. Look. IUIC, day number 2. IUIC Feast of Dedication, December 2nd to December 9th. See, it's right there. So we have the 2nd circled in green and the 9th circled in green. 8 days. They are to have their celebration. When will it be? In December. Okay, now we have the Jews to look at. December 18th to December 26th. Go up top, identify day number 24 in yellow. That's November. There was 2 dark moons in that month. They chose the second dark moon to start their count. If you start your count from the 24th, you count 25 days. You come all the way down to the bottom. You're going to be on day 18. See it circled there? They had it for 8 days. What day do they come to? The last day of their celebration. The 25th of December. The 25th of December, brothers and sisters. How did they land on the same day that the church celebrates its Christmas celebration? Calculations. So you can see right away the Jews are behind 2 months. Why? They've made 2 adjustments so far while you were sleeping. IUIC, they are behind 1 month and 15 days. They made their adjustment, plus they start their count from the full moon. Is any of this thinking in the Bible, where you add additional months to the calendar and go outside of the way the Father has created the lunar and the solar bodies to work and change it on paper? Does that change anything in the heavens? No. The book tells you that you are not to do this. You're not to add to or take away from this book of the law. If the Father told you to have Passover, in the first month, you cannot make it the second month, because if you do, you have transgressed the law. And that's what they did. The Jews and IUIC, and both parties claim that they are teachers of the law. How is it that we are able to do this? Because we have studied to show ourselves approved as workmen before Yahuwah, rightly dividing this word of truth. We're not adding to or taking away from anything. We know that there's only 12 months lunar, 12 months solar, so we can't add to it. We cannot make those heavenly bodies line up according to our thinking. We are supposed to line up according to what the lunar body shows us, not add to it on paper, which really changes nothing in the sky. It just changes your perception of time. And what you have done in all reality is transgress the law. Now, if you still believe in that foolishness, in Meton, and adding 13th months to the calendar for religious purposes, you should at least find it in the book. There should be a statute that tells you to do that. But you don't find that. You only find the Father saying, don't add to this book of the law. Don't add to it. If you add a month, you've added to it, because you'll be not in the first month, but the second month. Then you find in the book of Jubilees, Yaubos, you'll find that it says that you would be in error following the thinking of the Gentiles. It tells you not to do that. Who will you follow? Yah or men? Today, you choose. And the choice that you make dictates where you would be and what will happen to you when the Messiah returns. Now back to Maccabean, verse 56. And so they kept the dedication of the altar 8 days, and offered burnt offerings with gladness, and sacrificed the sacrifice of deliverance and praise. Verse 57. They decked also the forefront of the temple with crowns of gold, and with shields, and the gates and the chambers they renewed, and hanged doors upon them. Verse 58. Thus was there very great gladness amongst the people, for that the reproach of the heathen was put away. Praise be to Yahuwah. Verse 59. Moreover, Yehudis and his brethren, with the whole congregation of Yasharel, ordained that the days of the dedication of the altar should be kept in their season. No, it doesn't say season. It would say Muad Yam. From year to year by the space of 8 days. From the 25th day of the month of Kaslu, with mirth and gladness. Praise Yahuwah. Verse 60. At that time also they builded up the Mount Zion? No. Mount Tisyaun, with high walls and strong towers round about, lest the Gentiles, the Guyam, should come and tear it down as they had done before. Good thinking. Because after this came the Romans. Yeah. They said we're going to root out all of these rebel Yahuda Yam and destroy them. Verse 61. And they set there a garrison to keep it, and fortified Bethsura to preserve it, that the people might have a defense against Edom, Idumea. It shows you that they were in the southernmost part of the land of Yahuda. Here's an ancient map. Look, Telerod, that's where the temple is. Masada, you've heard about that, right? When the Romans came, they had to root out all of the rest of the children of Yasharel that kept the law. Look up top, you see Jerusalem. That is where Herod the Great built his temple. Our temple is in the south, towards the land of Edom. Mount Tisyaun, or Tisayaun, called Zion. Brothers and sisters, they've ran games on us for our whole life. Everything they taught us were lies. And the Father said that in these last days you would find that all of your enemies were liars. It is no doubt in anyone's mind that Yahuda was here. Look, all the cities, all of the gates, all of the walls, all around in the valley was here. They found ostrakas with the name of Yahuwah on it. They did not find anything with the name of Yahuwah in the north, at that place they called Jerusalem. They found correspondence between Hezekiah, his generals, and the people who were stocking the city because they knew that there was going to become a siege. They found all of these things there. The Gentiles are here right now, digging up all over the place, probably looking for the Ark of the Covenant. They won't get it. It would be revealed to us when we return. Listen to what the book says. You shall return and rebuild the wasted cities. Here they are. Not the place in Jerusalem. Everything is rebuilt already. There's nothing for you to rebuild. Yahusha said about the temple that was in Jerusalem, the one that Herod the Great built, he said, there will not be one stone left standing upon another. Is there any stones left standing upon another? Not one. What is left there? The stone, that wall that they pray at, is the wall to Fort Antonio, the Roman garrison. That's what the Jews are praying to. Has nothing to do with Yahuwah. Change your mind. Change your thinking. Be a Berean. Check everything. And above all, learn how to count the days for yourself. Brother David and Brother Kuya should not be doing it for you. All right. Time is going to change this evening. Everyone should be out to spot the renewed moon as the sun dips below the horizon. Then we're going to transition to the 12th month. What I want you guys to do is I want you to tell me when the day of Pascha is. Count the days for yourself. Use the calendar that we're going to provide for you for the 12th month. Use Moon Giant to find when the approximate day that the lunar event will happen. Hadash, when the moon becomes visible. And I want you to count from that day and tell me when Pascha is going to occur. There's my email address up top. Shalom.